We get asked pretty often when you should turn off the Google Ads campaigns for your e-commerce store. And there's a lot of variables you want to consider because at the end of the day, you don't want to waste money, right? Nobody wants to waste money, but turning off a campaign too early could also cause you to lose money by turning off a potentially profitable campaign or a campaign that you didn't actually give enough time to see if it's going to be successful. So we'll talk a little bit about through that and why or why not you want to leave a campaign on. The biggest thing about Google Ads is having enough data to make decisions. And I talk about this in other videos. It doesn't have as strong of an algorithm as like Facebook does. So if you have a campaign, you have a lot of things lumped together, it's not going to strategically push your budget where it should work the best. Google will sometimes spend all of your budget on areas that don't work and not give budget to areas that would work if they actually got budget. And you can turn off a campaign, not allowing the things that would have worked to actually have their chance. So the biggest thing is segmentation. Whenever you're doing Google Ads, you want to make sure to control where budget goes because that's going to allow every different variable to get enough data for you to make decisions. So what I mean by that is if you have campaigns, you don't want to have just a ton of ad groups and a bunch of keywords stacked in those ad groups. So what's going to happen is it's just going to lop the budget around. It's not going to allow it to spread evenly to see what's going to work the best. The biggest thing you want to do is chop up different targeting by different campaigns. So what you're going to do is you're going to usually have a campaign per each grouping of keywords you want to use. If you have keywords that have a different topic, they're for a different product, they might have a different frame of thought before, the intent of people searching them. You want to take those and segment them into their own campaigns with dedicated budgets, because what's going to happen is if they have their own budget, it's going to push the budget onto those keywords, which will allow you to get enough data to make decisions whether or not you want to keep them or leave them. But if you have all of it together, you're going to usually have a failing campaign that didn't get to spread the budget out evenly. You had some keywords in there that got a ton of the budget that totally fail, and then you turn off the campaign and just discredit everything else that could have worked. So make sure to segment out your campaigns based off of those groupings and have dedicated budgets to make sure they get what they need to get the data. There's a couple different ways of doing that. You could have everything together and just turn things off as you get enough data to make decisions on them. What I mean is basically turning off keywords once they get enough spend to see whether they're going to work or not. When you're judging something based off whether it's going to work, it's going to usually relate to your CPA. So if let's say you want a $20 CPA for profitability, you might let a keyword run only for 20 bucks or up to, let's say, 2 times CPA. If it's a really good keyword, you're going to use your best judgment, right? If it's a really great keyword, it should convert. You probably want to give it a little more leeway. But if you have a grouping of keywords that could or couldn't convert and there's not as much logic behind it, probably want to cut it off a little closer to the normal CPA. That way you don't waste more money because it will be less likely to convert. Now we talked about CPA goals. A lot of the times, like I said, we'll usually judge success based off of staying under CPA, so there's profitability. If you are doing testing on the front end, like I said, a little more leeway. But on the campaign side, you really wouldn't judge success or failure off of top level campaign spend. You really have to look at all the variables within that campaign as different units to judge success on. Unless, for example, on Facebook, you might judge turning off a ad group or a campaign based off of the spending because the algorithm will push things where they need to be pushed. If that still doesn't work, then it's not going to work at the top level. Like I said, Google doesn't really work that way. So make sure when you are judging success and failure, you're doing it at the asset level or the variable level, not at the campaign level, because you need to control what decisions are being made and not let Google do that. Next is going to be how much proof of concept there is on other platforms. If you have a brand new store and you're trying to run new products on Google Ads and you haven't tested on other platforms, you usually want to cut off tests quicker because you have a lot of other variables you don't know whether they work or not. And I mean assets like the website, the product, branding around the product. You don't have proof of concept of those being a controlled variable that work. You can't judge whether or not the actual keywords you're getting traffic from are the problem for converting, because the keyword traffic could be great, but then the branding or the assets around the branding could be what's causing them to not actually convert. So if you're going to do Google Ads, you will want to cut tests off quicker if you're not seeing conversions. But we almost always recommend, if you have a new store, test the viability on some other platforms that are a little cheaper, like Facebook, where it has a CPM model. That means paying for views of traffic, not the actual cost per clicks, which is a little bit more expensive on the Google side, to see with more traffic at volume if you will get conversions and what you need to do to actually get the products to convert and the assets that would get them to convert. Last is going to be the level of targeting. We talk about intent in different videos. The intent makes all the difference when you're making decisions, because let's say you're selling, Nike tennis shoes. If someone's searching specifically for, let's say, XYZ yellow tennis shoes in size 10, they know exactly what they want and they want to buy it, but they got to find someone that they trust to buy it from. And if you're targeting those types of terms, which would be pretty much the best possible terms you can go after intent-wise, and it's not converting, then you have to look at the variables around why it's not converting. And you would generally give a little bit more time on the keyword side, just because if you can't convert that, you're not going to be able to convert other levels of awareness. You always need to be able to convert the highest level intent first before you move to that next stage and that next stage and the next stage. And we always mention how there's going to be less scale when it comes to more specific terms. If there's going to be more scale at the broader terms, but you're not gonna be able to convert those broader terms until you convert them more intent-driven terms. That way you don't waste your money and you always scale at the most logical progression of budget. So if you want more content on decision-making and what you would actually do to optimize these types of campaigns and how you actually build them as well, make sure to like and subscribe. We're constantly putting out content talking about what we do for our clients every single day to get them a 4 or 5x off of $1 million plus in ad spend per month.